Well, tonight I am honored and pleased to present the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. As you know, every year we present a budget to you. This comes as a long process for us, as well as you as a council who've been not only involved in this from the beginning, but it's a process we go throughout the year. And this year, the budget's going to be a little bit different. When we look at the budget, we try to take into the challenges that we face and see it as a business tool to identify how to move forward and how to proceed in an efficient and effective manner. We have to, as a business, identify what those constraints are and what those challenges are for us, and use these tools from a budget and use these programs to implement, to mitigate against that, to assure that we have the resilience going long term. This budget year, you'll be seeing an analysis of our property tax and sales tax on a locational basis from a geospatial aspect so that we can understand what our business is. This image here is it's the beginning phase of an analysis of, if you look at that, that's the city limits, and it's on a 3D scale so you can kind of see the spikes as relates to that's property values. When you look at that, obviously the big purple spike in the middle is what we want to see more of, right? That means that we have a greatest return of property tax for the lowest amount of infrastructure associated with that, and that's from a density perspective. That spike is the 3-story movie theater downtown. Oftentimes when we ask this question, when we're talking to the public or staff, they say, is that the Walmart, or that's the Auto Mall, or that's anything. It's shocking to say that is the 3-story movie theater downtown. But that's the kind of efficiency we're looking for from a budget perspective, and understanding that those types of businesses create value, where those that are external that may have some red or some yellow are some of the less valuable properties to us. But we have to understand our business, and in this budget we're going to be doing that and sharing that with you. Part of that is understanding what the value of a house is. And if you look at our average house value is about $286,000. Of that, the property tax is 1% of the assessed value, which is about $2,800. And Lancaster receives 7% of that 1%. So what that means is, for that house to provide them sheriff service, code enforcement, streets, roads, all the services necessary to provide them from a property tax perspective, we're receiving $200 a year, right? That's obviously a challenge. And until you break those numbers down, until you understand that business, you don't understand the challenges we face. And this is what we try to address in some of these programs we're going to be sharing. Comparatively, and I know we don't like comparing cities, but our citizens are no different than other citizens as well. They expect the same level of service. They expect their response times to be the same. They expect their roads to be maintained at the same level. They expect their neighborhoods to be as clean and as pretty as anywhere else. Yet we're doing it with $200, and other communities are doing it with far more. So if you look at the comparison, if we were in a race, our starting point in that race is far behind others, yet our citizens expect the same thing. The good news of this story, though, is what I guess the point of this is this causes us to be a little more creative, right? Is if we were a community that had $1,700 a unit, we might be not doing things like Lancaster Choice Energy. We may not be doing the things like Wi-Fi. We may not be doing things like these business models that we're talking about. So the strategy is understanding this business and understanding the fact that we need to mitigate against these challenges, right? We have some additional challenges that we've identified from a sales tax perspective. If you look at our two major revenue streams in this budget, 60% of that revenue comes from sales tax and property tax. We talked about property tax already. When we talk about sales tax, you look at the challenges we face with sales tax, is 40% of that revenue is automobile-based or automobile-related. So that's the sale of gasoline and the sale of vehicles. So if you look at the future, and if we believe we can predict the future, we believe that all cars will be electric, right? And I believe, I don't know that everybody believes, that we'll all be driven around in an autonomous vehicle. It'll either be shared or it'll be a shared economy, which then lowers our sales of vehicles potentially or lowers our sales of gasoline. If you knew that every car was going to be powered by electricity, what business should you want to be in? Selling electricity. Well, we've already solved that problem. As it relates to the mitigating effects of this, we have to understand that these are challenges. Not necessarily that's going to happen this year. This isn't a story that's going to happen in this budget year. This is a strategy to try to mitigate against these challenges in the future. And that's where STIR comes in, is understanding we need to be strategic. We need to include or identify technology, innovation to be resilient. What those mean, technologies, anticipating integration of cutting-edge technology and future technologies and their impact. So it's one thing is utilizing these technologies as opportunities for the city, but also understanding that these are challenges as well. As these technologies improve and increase, that will impact the future of Lancaster. As Amazon develops a drone to deliver your goods and your toothpaste to your front door, that's going to impact Lancaster and our sales tax. As we identify ways to have cars driven for you, that's going to impact how many cars you're going to sell in Lancaster. Those are impacts we have to understand. So it's not only creating opportunities with that technology, it's also understanding the impacts of that technology. Innovation is incorporating new ideas, approaches, and techniques to build a stronger city. We have to be innovative, and you guys are all in those meetings that we're having. The stuff we're doing here, I am personally, and I know the staff is very proud of what we're doing. It's innovative, it's different, and it's frankly really cool. And those are budgeted and approved in this budget. And of course, resilience, maximizing available resources to generate the greatest value. Right? We have to understand our business models so that when we develop lands, when we create opportunities, that we understand that those are long-term value propositions in the future. With this, we've identified some guiding principles as an organization to move us forward as well. And there's 13 of them. I won't go over every one of them, but I'll highlight a couple of them. It's putting people first. Right? We have to understand that we are a city of people. And those people have expectations, regardless of what revenue we receive, regardless of what projects we do. Those people, we've got to put them first in design, we've got to put them first in safety, and this budget does that. We want to be ambassadors for Lancaster. And as city staff and as city residents, we have the responsibility to do that. We have the responsibility to tell the good story, right? We have enough people, whether it be the media or detractors telling the bad story, we have an obligation to tell the good story. Build resiliency and adaptation, right? We have to understand that we build resiliency. It doesn't happen. We have to build that. And create community brand and neighborhood identity, right? Identifying these locations and building upon them, and this budget does that. As it relates to the priority and some of the projects we'll be implementing, I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda Perez to share some of those. And as we progress, I think a lot of these projects that we see on here are going to help not only improve our technology innovation, but also cause us to be far more resilient than we are today.
Good evening, Mayor Paris, Vice Mayor Christ, and Council. With the changing face of retail and the autonomous technology taking our world by storm that Jason mentioned, the City of Lancaster obviously is always looking to stay far ahead of that curve, and we want to create new revenue sources and approach each challenge as an opportunity. In fiscal year 1920, that budget is no different. Jason's laid out our challenges pretty clearly, and in true Lancaster fashion, I'm here to talk about the creative ways that we're going to combat those challenges and win against those challenges, obviously with Council's priorities always in mind. In the forthcoming budget, we've accounted for the potential creation of a hybrid policing model. This is something that we are currently exploring, and you're very well aware of this. A unique approach to increasing the safety of our citizens, the Public Safety Department will expand to augment our sworn officers to more effectively and efficiently allow our deputies to focus on more serious crimes. This augmented police force will focus on quality of life issues. And though we've yet to approve it, we have made considerations in the forthcoming budget, should you approve it once you see the plan in the fall, to accommodate that consideration. This year, we'll also see the fiber network come to fruition. The fiber is in the ground, the connections have all been made, and now we have the opportunity to expand our services through the implementation of community-wide Wi-Fi, as well as 5G. We continue to value partnerships in these endeavors. We don't do this by ourselves, and we're working with providers who are set to begin the installation of co-locatable infrastructure in just a month here, I believe in July, which not only will improve our cellular coverage for our community, but also increase safety with the installation of streetlight cameras. Other power-related opportunities also exist in with the recently approved municipal utility and the building of the first of its kind advanced energy community using microgrid technology. We'll also continue to partner with cutting-edge technological leaders to maximize additional emerging revenue opportunities that we don't even know today.
What does microgrid technology mean?
So microgrid technology will allow us, and we're looking at doing this with some of our H&R projects, our housing projects, to be completely self-contained, providing power and service all within that complex itself.
Okay, good.
And we've got a grant, a $5 million grant to do that, so we're going to talk about that here in the next few weeks.
Okay.
We're also looking in partnership with economic sustainability professionals who promote a new way of thinking to encourage densification in the core. We've talked about this quite a bit. We want to most effectively and efficiently use our land. And urban sprawl is no longer what we're focused on. We want to focus on the core. That goes back to that spike that Jason was talking about in the slide a little previous. So we'll continue to pursue those aggressively. Medical Main Street will also see the completion of its master plan and EIR this year. In partnership with AV Hospital and a private developer, the vision for this area continues to progress. Parkway Village, that's previously known as the Armagosa Creek Vision. It was originally designated in the early 2000s for big box development. It's going to go back and do a specific plan review, and basically we're looking to change that into a mixed-use development and start addressing that missing middle housing that we keep talking about, that sort of market rate townhome and apartment complex that we don't have right now, especially as the aerospace firms and manufacturers such as BYD continue to populate in the area. We also anticipate some hotel development to continue in the upcoming year with at least 2 on the horizon. And our most proud moment probably in this year's budget is that Lancaster Choice Energy continues to explore making a difference in our community and celebrates a $4.5 million or 11% reserve this year. After all the bills are paid, $4.5 million remains in that reserve. But they're not stopping there. In 1920, we're going to look at an expanded electrification program to include a vehicle purchase incentive program, installation of charging stations throughout the city, and also implementation of the electric lawnmower replacement plan that we've talked about and various other ongoing efforts. So we're excited to create new, and I've just talked about that. But as stewards of our community facilities, I think it's also important to maintain our existing infrastructure. The $15 million bond approved in late 2018 continues the over $4.5 million investment that we've made in the past 5 years in the modernization of our facilities. In 1920, we're going to be investing in various park improvements. Most notably, the skate park will finish in October, as well as a general facelift to Jane Reynolds Park that will include playground investment, building rehab, restroom rehab, to prepare it really for what we believe will be a huge gathering place that's in a currently underutilized facility at this time. LMD revitalization, for those of you that don't know in the audience potentially, this is our landscape maintenance districts. They will also take center stage as we begin to systematically rehabilitate some of our oldest medians with fresh, drought-tolerant landscaping and a consideration for increased safety, similar to what you see at American Heroes Park and also along the frontage on 10th Street West at Sergeant Steve Owen Memorial Park. We've done some different planting there that kind of opens up visibility. Major arterial and residential roadway improvements will kick off in the spring of 2020 with final approval of that $50 million road bond. The investment will speed up Revive 25 exponentially, and it will actually result in 3 years with us touching 90% of the core of our city streets. And we define that as the core as 20th East to 30th West, Avenue H to Avenue M. 90% of those will be touched by 2022, 3 short years away. Freeway interchange improvements, those are currently in various phases of design and will begin with Avenue J Street improvements in early 2020, followed by on and off ramps at Avenue J, K, and M. And then last but not least, our impact initiative, which we've talked a little bit about as well. That team is going to be really focused on addressing general city beautification goals. And what does that mean? They're dedicated to creating and implementing a holistic and coordinated approach alongside community partners and impact interns that work together to address everything from housing needs to illegal dumping, graffiti and code enforcement issues, to telemedicine and proactive healthcare through the reimagining of our wellness and impact homes, and all of this with the goal of increasing our civic pride and citizen engagement, be they young or old. So that's a lot, covers a lot of things, but the 1920 budget was built with all of these priorities and challenges in mind, and I would now like to turn it over to Pam, our finance director, to brief you on the specifics of the budget that supports all of these initiatives and that will be up for your approval at the next council meeting.
So the budget that we are proposing is $209.3 million. And as you can see, the capital improvement projects portion is the largest component of that budget at $46 million. Right behind that is personnel. That's the second largest component. We have almost $39 million in funding for 249 full-time staff positions, as well as an additional $4 million for part-time staff. And then another large component of the budget is, as Rhonda made reference to, the Lancaster Choice Energy as well as Lancaster Power Authority. Together, those comprise $40.8 million of the budget total. The general fund is the largest unrestricted fund, and is what we use to fund various services for citizens. The revenue that comes into the general fund is in the form of property taxes, sales tax, fees for services, licenses and permits, and development fees, to name a few. Jason made reference to the property tax. The portion that comes to the city is $22.7 million for the 1920 year, followed closely by sales tax, which we predict to be $21.1 million. There's also in the tax component, transient occupancy tax, also called a hotel tax. That is approximately $2.3 million, and we like that source because obviously it comes from people living outside of the area. They pay that upon visiting our hotels. The proposed general fund budget totals $81.5 million. And as I mentioned, it supports services throughout the city, in particular public safety, which represents 36% of the general fund budget, and it includes the largest sheriff's contract in LA County. That's valued at almost $28 million for this coming fiscal year, and animal control we're predicting at $1.3 million. So that's another large chunk of money that goes for county services. Another large department that is paid most by general fund is Parks, Recreation, and Arts, and they cover all of the events that we have throughout the city that the residents benefit from, as well as our parks, our facilities, our fields, and so that total is about $15.6 million. So at the end of the day, we predict revenue, expenditures, and a budget surplus for the general fund. We predict it to be about $400,000. The general fund budget is balanced, and we actually predict by the end of the 1920 fiscal year a 30% reserve balance, which is about the same as what we had last fiscal year as well. So we're able to maintain that. So included in the $46 million capital improvement budget, we have many of the projects that Rhonda spoke of. We have the continuation of the interchange project, and continuation of Medical Main Street. We have funds in there for Parkway Village, as well as the citywide infrastructure improvements, the $15 million bond funds. Those are all programmed into this capital improvement budget. As a separate item, not included in the slide, we do have before you for your consideration approval of the CCEA, so the California Choice Energy Authority budget as well. That has been distributed to all the member cities for them to review, and that totals about $5.5 million.
Motion to approve JPH1.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. And it passes unanimously.